Three. Welcome back to the Love Below on 91.9 The Buzz. This is Demo.
Quita B. Sunshine B.
And this should be
Hey, don't be making fun of her.
Exactly.
She got that Rick Ross going on because she got a cold.
See, I thought you was taking up for me.
I was.
Got some
I
love.
was. So we began the show by talking about what it means to be an American citizen and looking at some of the questions that are a part of the civics portion of the citizenship test. So now we're going to kind of switch topics a little bit and talk about global citizenship. So I want you guys to define global citizenship. What does that mean to you?
Citizen of the whole globe.
Thank you.
Like definitions, they use the words. That's the best definitions.
No, those are terrible.
You have all the rights in all the places?
I would say a global citizen isn't as much as being a citizen as it is being more in tune to the things that are going on around the world. But I would add that I would call a global citizen more of a person that travels to those places too, because I mean you could get a perspective of what a place is going through, but living there is different. And understanding the different customs, we can practice. Over here we do an international studies major, and yeah, you learn, that you have to. Some people become translators or, advisors of other people of other nations and other, languages. But to go over there and actually live there for a while, like what people do when they study abroad, I think that's more of a.
So it's more of a live there than visit there.
Yeah.
Okay.
For an extended period of time. So I mean, that's what I would consider global citizenship being.
So what's the definition?
I would be inclined. The definition depends on the individual and how they see it, because you have to really establish it for yourself. But to me, being a global citizen is, like Frank said, having knowledge of what's going on in the world and being willing to do something, anything that's bettering the world as a whole versus just where you live and being so egocentric that you don't really realize that the rest of the world is existing. So with that being said, would you guys consider yourselves to be global citizens, and then why or why not? Like, if you don't think that you're a global citizen right now, what's stopping you from being one?
I don't think I am, because I don't think I know enough about different places. Or, stuff that I think you should get to know, So I want to broaden my horizons.
Okay.
Once I do that,
I can do.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I have been out of the country, and I'm going again next week. So I mean, that's two places that I know a little bit better about, but I could go some more places if I want to go.
I mean, the tourist area don't really count.
Oh, I mean, we think, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well, we're going this time.
it
It's
may.
not a tourist area, so.
I mean, it may, because you're helping their economic system. So let me not down you. Do you, boo boo? We don't travel.
Did you travel too?
I
You was on a
did.
boat.
I did. It was beautiful.
he's a citizen of the ocean. I would say that I'm not, and that's because at this point in time, I'm not really interested in being a global citizen. I mean, at this point in time, like, there's so many things in America that I'm not aware of. There's things in Georgia, there's things in Statesboro that I'm not aware of, and I consider myself a citizen here. And so I can't be a global citizen until I'm fully aware. Well, I can't say fully aware because you're never fully aware, but be able to acknowledge the things that are going on at my school. I don't participate in the SGA stuff. And they put out stuff, I'm like, okay, I read it. Oh, that's interesting. Put it on Facebook. Oh, y'all should go out there and look at it. But I don't engage in it.
Okay.
I have interest to travel, but that's to travel to the tourist areas, because I'm not trying to go to Jamaica or Haiti to the non-tourist parts. Because it gets really mean,
It get real.
It's,
It get real.
stuff I see on TV in France and other countries. They have the luxurious countrysides and things of that nature, but people really be going through some things. It's hard time, and it's hard times here. So I'm like, what can I do here first? Then if that works here, then I can be a global ambassador.
Ooh.
I see you.
Think global.
Yes. I would say that I'm becoming more of a global citizen because I am starting to get more involved in things that are going on in different countries and participate in activities like recycling and fair trade and things of that nature to kind of make sure that we're using sustainable materials and we're thinking about the future of the world as a whole instead of just that one little area that you live in. Because that's not everything that there is to the world. We really do need to think about that on some occasions. So next I want to see if you guys know the difference between globalism and globalization. And then if you do, can you give me an example of each?
Take a stab at it.
Try. You
I
never
need
know.
30 seconds to Google.
No.
Point out the smart.
Global is
Globalism and
the belief in
globalization.
thinking global.
I would say that's kind of
That's close.
with you not knowing what it is. I don't know what it is, but
I mean, I know globalization is. I just wrote a paper on it. Trying to give you I mean, there's no exact definition, but it's basically when companies outsource to other countries for labor.
That's one example, yeah.
So pretty much commercialization across nations. That's what globalization is.
Well, I mean, the company that we research is basically they outsource to China because they have lower labor costs and use their workers instead of using the workers inside of America because we have a minimum wage and they really don't.
Burger. F dot.
If I could take a stab at it, I'll just be honest. I don't know. I've read things in the past about globalization, but it was in terms of like the countries when they were like enslaving people and going around the world trying to like force their views on other people, and change the way that people live, their westernized countries and stuff like that. But I would say that it is a nation's globalization. I would say is a nation's not pursuit, but for lack of a better word, is they're trying to go to other countries and I want to say take over. I'll just be honest. That's what I think it is.
I think that's more like imperialism, which is something that was going on a little bit before globalization. And the research that I've done in looking at it, globalism is more of a policy of looking at the world as a proper sphere for political action, for movement, for just looking at the world as a whole instead of just your individual country or your individual organization. And it, like I said, is a policy. So it's a country looking at the world that way. It's an organization looking at the world that way.
So that's like the UN, like what they try to do.
A country participating in the UN would be globalism.
Okay. So what's globalization?
Globalization is more or less the practice of looking at the world that way. So recycling would be considered globalization.
Wow.
If you do it on an individual basis because you are acting as though the world is just as important as the nation that you live in. It's just as important as the area that you are directly influencing. And then fair trade would be another thing, outsourcing like Sunshine Bee said. When you are mixing cultures, like the fact that a lot of UK artists are really popular over here, like Jessie J and Adele and Idris Elba is from the UK as well. The fact that movies made over there are really popular over here. People we're moving around and we're forming a global culture. It's not just about, okay, well, this is what happens in America, this is what happens in Italy, this is what happens in France, but we're mixing and meshing together. And that's what it is to me.
Cool.
So we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about culture and global engagement. This is the Love Below on 91.9 The Place.